one of the first things one understands in mystical traditions, including the Western mystical tradition, which is not so much known about, because of the way our culture has developed in the last few hundred years. But in East and West, the whole emphasis is on not doing and not knowing until, as it were, something presences to you. And actually, this is very good psychiatry too, because if somebody comes to you with anything other than the most trivial problem, it probably has quite a lot to do with the way they look at the world and the sort of core beliefs that they bring to experience. And you can't just say to them, well, that's not real, change that, or this is a mistaken way to look, or anything like that. In fact, you need to say to them, well, look, what you've told me is that you find that time and again you do this, and then something else happens. Well, how about, rather than me saying, this is what you should do, you stop doing what you're doing, which you know doesn't work anyway, and be more attentive. Because you see, the thing is that when we're doing, we're not really attending. We're off away in our head, we're listening to something, we're on an exercise bike, we're thinking about lunch, we're in 100 different places at once. We're not really taking anything in. And it's not really an active process. The world is using you, and big money is using you. Capitalism and its advertising and its relentless fragmentation of your attention is predatory on you. And what you need to realize is that it's not by doing stuff, which at the moment you can't possibly know, because that's the problem. If you knew it, you'd be doing it. So you have to create a space in which to know. And that means a kind of active passivity. I mean, that sounds odd, but then, as I say, we can only get at reality through these apparent paradoxes. But it's not by any means a nonsense. I know what that is like, and I'm sure you do too, if you meditate, that you're not going to sleep or switching off. You're actually being more present and more aware, but you're not rushing into the space and going, oh, I know it's one of those, or I think I understand. You're going, just let me experience it. As though you were in the presence of a majestic landscape or in the presence of a wonderful piece of music. You're really not doing it any favors if you're busily cataloging it. You need to allow the thing to speak to you, because I believe that although we think that most things are unidirectional, when I go somewhere I do that to that thing and something else does something to me on another occasion, but everything is two-way, so nothing alters in a relationship, obviously, without both aspects of the relationship or both ends of the relationship, whatever you like to call it, being altered. So in that sense, you are, what I want to get at is that there aren't things for you to know. There's a way of being for you to allow yourself to enter. That's very important. It's this business of giving permission to things. And indeed, I think consciousness is not produced by the brain, which is a little factory turning it out in a good sort of corporate way. Doesn't make any sense. I think that what the brain does is actually allow experience. It's a permitter of experience. I used to think of it as a transmitter, and I don't think there's anything too wrong with that. But in fact, I think the idea of it being a permitter is more powerful, partly because when things happen to the brain, and sometimes when things are no longer functioning, more experience becomes available than was available when the brain was fully functioning, which is interesting in itself. I think it acts as a filter and a screen to stuff which is perfectly real, but becomes what it is in the encounter with me through my brain, and with you through your brain, with every one of the listeners. So I see the world as a process of encounter, constant process of encounter, in which something very real is coming into being, in which what it is that is coming into being doesn't know ahead of time what that is going to be until it's had the encounter. And we, who are the other end of this encounter, don't know really what we're going to find there, or who indeed we are, until we have the encounters. The encounters not only reveal to us what we are, but they make us what we are. And so the attention we pay in those encounters is a profound moral act. If we pay a kind of trivializing, predatory attention to the world, we destroy something in the world and in ourselves. If we have this open, more humble, searching or seeking or openness, receptiveness to whatever is, then we actually bring about something. We become, through our stepping back from power, we become suddenly the agency of something good to happen.